Hello, Rich.
Yes, hello, Mike.
I invited you here today because, one, I know you hate Star Wars. Two, I know you hate Jedis. Three, I know you hate the current discourse around Star Wars. And four, I know you absolutely love talking about vitriolic politics.
Oh my God.
So with that said, welcome to our review of The Acolyte.
The Acolyte? I watched Ahsoka. Oh, I'll be back.
Okay, I'll wait here.
I'll be back. I got 4 hours?
Yeah, roughly.
Oh, sorry, I'm microphone cord.
You should probably disconnect your microphone.
Yeah.
Because the TV's all the way upstairs.
It's.
Don't rip that. That was a gift to us by Devin Sawa.
Oh shit! I ripped.
Last night, a Jedi was murdered.
The Jedi justify their galactic dominance in the name of peace. But that peace is a lie.
So you sent me a text like a couple nights ago. You said, Rich Evans, we're watching The Acolyte. And I think my response to you was just, you. and I'm very curious what you have to say about this, because the fact that you wanted to watch this means either A, it's surprisingly good, or B, it was going to be amazingly bad. and my experience watching it is, this is highly mediocre.
My interest in it is more around the clash of cultures and the online response, which I found that I have plenty of things to say about. I was sort of like, I saw the trailer for it, and I knew this was coming for a while, and I was like, well, what is this about? I think the poster was like a lightsaber, and there's like a blood smear where like the beam was, and I was like, they're doing Star Wars prequel, like 100 years. I mean, go back 1,000 years. I guess there's. I don't know all the Star Wars lore. I don't know all the like things.
There's a whole video game series, Knights of the Old Republic, takes place like I think they go back thousands of years.
Yes, but then there's something called the High Republic, and that's only like 100-ish years old, and I think that's sort of like more recent, like maybe comic books, because I think the well of the Clone Wars middle between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens, like Boba Fett and. All that Solo, a Skywalker story, or whatever that's called, what Han Solo is a solo Obi-Wan story, all that stuff's been mined to death. So I'm like, okay, yeah. And maybe it'll be somewhere between Star Wars lightsaber porn and Andor. Maybe it'll be somewhere in between. And then that third episode hit.
The power of one! The power of two! The power of many!
And everyone was yelling about lesbian space witches. And I was like, what? And then I was like, well, maybe I'll watch this.
Force using lesbian space witches has been a thing since like the novels 30 years ago.
Exactly. And
it was one of the first times, like I actually, just on a whim, I read that book. Because the title, I didn't have any idea witches were going to be in it. It was something, Han Solo and Leia adventure, and I read it. And I'm like, oh, this is awful. And that was like my first hint that I don't actually like Star Wars as a franchise.
Is this that famous novel you always told me you read?
Yeah.
What happened? Something else happened in it.
I don't remember. I just know, like...
Used to tell me, like, crazy things happened in these novels.
My brain has blocked most of it out.
Okay.
So... I just know there was a planet of Jedi witches, and I think they were riding Rancors.
But the explosion on the internet, and then sort of like the culture wars around it was kind of fascinating to me, and I'm reading all these things, and I try my best to be kind of like, I try to be reasonable about all this stuff. There's a lot of like overreaction, and then a lot of like we're team A, we're team B, side taking, this is our thing, this is our thing, we're gonna fight. we're going to yell. And then, of course, there's also, it's big business. I don't know if you'd say big business, but there's money to be made in clickbait videos, rage content, things like that, and on either end.
Last week, Lucasfilm hosted a fan event where a bunch of Star Wars creators got to go out to California to see the first few episodes of The Acolyte, and the overall reactions were tremendously positive.
It's all kind of like this big thing, and what is Star Wars? What has it become? What has it become? And that's what we're here to discuss today.
It's become a political battleground.
Has it?
Is it? The women have taken over Star Wars. I don't know, and it's all completely fucking irrelevant. Here's my take on the political discourse of not just like politics in Star Wars, but politics in anything when it comes to reviewing films. Quality of the filmmaking has everything to do with how good something is. If you take a mediocre character who's a straight white man, and you change their gender and whatnot, and you make it a mediocre character who's a black lesbian woman, you still have a mediocre character.
I think lesbian woman is redundant.
That is very true. But my point stands, the politics has nothing to do with how good or bad any of the shit is. Ghostbusters 2016 isn't a bad movie because of women. Ghostbusters is a bad movie because of just like horrible improv comedy, and you're comparing it to like a classic movie and it doesn't compare well at all to the class. That's why it's just not a good movie.
So you're saying you hate women?
The power of petty compels you!
Let me give you an example. Ghostbusters, like the original Ghostbusters. It's a movie about four businessmen who start up their own business, and they're entrepreneurial heroes who have to fight like the government. The government comes in and tries to shut them down, but they know what's best, and they are the heroes. Ghostbusters is just like politically, it's a very pro-capitalist conservative movie, and it's one of the best movies of all time. Same era, RoboCop. This big evil corporation takes a human being, turns them into a product, and our human being who works at like the public services has to fight to get back his humanity in this horrible corporate system. Both of these are fantastic movies, and they say completely opposite things politically. Politics
So before we get into the actual plot of The Acolyte, let's rewind.
Okay.
Back to the beginning, even before 1977.
Oh.
I started to have sort of like this thought, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about The Acolyte, because everyone's like fighting on the internet, and there's this like pervasive idea that all science fiction has to reflect society.
Oh, really?
But there's this like mantra that's always repeated in like, especially like Star Trek Discovery or new science fiction. Sci-fi always holds a mirror up to society today. Always, 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 always.
It doesn't have to always be the case, I would say. Frequently is the case.
Yeah, but then I'm seeing like all this vitriol and this anger about it's woke. The Acolyte, Star Wars, Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, everything's woke, everything's, progressive, diversity, blah, 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 blah. And it just kind of occurred to me, what you said is true, that if a science fiction story is good, tells a good story, is engaging, is you're emotionally involved in it, it's smart, you can weave in a political message. And like you said, your two examples are great, RoboCop and Ghostbusters, where it can have a very subtle satirical element to it, because I would consider both movies satirical.
Yeah.
And you can get away with it, but once you start to lean too heavy-handed in one direction or the other is where you go too far. And in terms of politics, right now, this is a new generation of writers and creators, and people are kind of looking back to the old generation. If you're talking about sci-fi that we grew up on in the 70s, sci-fi the 70s and 80s, who was that made by?
That was made by, like, I guess the the greatest generation.
No,
if you go back to like the 70s,
the
boomers?
the boomers,
Yeah.
the generation after the greatest generation, the boomers, Lucas, Spielberg, James Cameron, all these people that were born in like the 40s and 50s, right, who grew up during, and this reflects in their work. They grew up as kids and into adulthood during
civil rights, women's
civil
lib.
rights, yes, women's lib, 3 wars, World War II, the echoes of World War II, Korea, Vietnam especially, yes, civil rights movement, and the Cold War. So you have movies and shows like Lucas, Star Wars. You know, it's he drew inspirations from many things. You know. The Joseph Campbell's A Hero's Journey, Flash Gordon serials, World War II film reels and action stuff, like that was his thing. And there's a current clip where he's talking with James Cameron, and they're talking about, he's like, you know, oh, Luke, Han, and Leia are the Viet Cong.
When I did it, they were Viet Cong.
Exactly. So were you thinking of that at the time?
Yes.
And they're rebels fighting a giant empire. And they're like, oh, yeah.
I mean, it was also the most diverse movie ever made with all white men because they were aliens.
Well, there was a recent thing at Cannes where people asked them about that. They're like, why don't you have women in your movies?
Later on, when they were making more movies, they said, there's no women in the movies. I said, who do you think the heroes are in those films? What do you think Princess Leia was?
Why didn't he have women in Star Wars? And he said, what do you mean? I heard, he gets like mad. He's like, I had Princess Leia. And she was like the leader of the rebellion, remember? And Luke was a moron and Han was an arrogant idiot. And she's bossing them around and telling them what to do, and she runs the show. Of course I had a strong female character in my film. And then he's like, what? The population of the U.S. was 95% white in 1977. Like, well, how diverse do you want me to make it? He's like saying things like that. He's like,
What we mean is there's no black people in the movie. Well, in the first one, there were a few Tunisians who were dark.
and also I had all these aliens in there. We're a purple alien, a green alien, an alien with a horn on its head, and everyone's different. Everyone looks different, but everybody's special and unique, and everyone, you know, and I'm like, oh, oof.
And they said, well, but there's no women, you know. I said, you can't just put a woman in pants and expect her to be a hero.
Quit while you're ahead. They don't want to hear that.
It's fine.
They want you to apologize, motherfucker. I'm so sorry, I grovel at your feet. I didn't put enough diversity in my movie. They want you to do that, George. Don't stand up for yourself.
I just look at the cast of the Acolyte, and I know this takes place 100 years before like the prequels, and I'm just wondering, when did the Aryan movement just take over the Republic?
Well, to be fair, the prequels, yes, it was a mixture of aliens, and they had Samuel Jackson was there.
I know.
There wasn't like just endless white guys. It wasn't like King Arthur's Round Table or anything. That was probably the thought in the 70s when Obi-Wan said, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of truth and justice, peace and justice in the galaxy for 1,000 generations. That was probably Lucas's idea. There's a bunch of white guys running around with swords. But so anyway, so he's saying like Luke and Leia, the Viet Cong and blah, 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 and it's like colonizers.
Or a colonial, we're fighting the largest empire in the world.
Right.
Clearly the style of Star Wars was very World War II inspired.
I mean, you can't look at an Imperial uniform, an Imperial officer, and not tell me that doesn't look like a Nazi.
Yeah, exactly. And even down to like the dog fights, like
They actually didn't they actually edit together World War II footage?
They used dogfight footage as like
the template.
Yeah, like storyboards, boards almost. Like and then even too, like when I see old World War II footage and tracer bullets at night, they fucking look like laser blasts, don't they?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, so he grew up on that, and that was his thing, and then like Cold War I'm trying to think of like all the themes that were pervasive in like 70s, 80s science fiction. Cold War, the fear of external force coming in and changing our way of life.
Mixed with some echoes of World War II.
Yeah.
Because that was a big fucking deal.
But like xenophobia, Alien, Predator, the Thing. So you grow up and as kids you're hiding under your school desk for the drill for the nuclear bomb coming in. So then you have things like Terminator with the post-apocalyptic wasteland, Mad Max, like things like that.
Growing up in the 80s, it always felt like in the back of your mind like the world could just end at any fucking moment. You're going to see a mushroom cloud on the horizon and it's just done. Yeah.
So kids born in the 1940s who grew up in the 50s and 60s, you have the Cuban Missile Crisis, you had the communism, the Cold War, the threat of nuclear annihilation. You had a lot of post-apocalyptic sci-fi. I don't really get post-apocalyptic sci-fi anymore.
I mean, Furiosa, but we saw how that did in the box office.
Right.
So.
But that's just sort of like a flavor.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's by George Miller, who is old and made Mad Max. So that's what I'm saying is that and then so now you're not going to have writers and creators. This is just the kind of the thing I'm trying to explain. I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I'm just being like anthropological here and looking back and saying this is what I see. You have old people who are running the show, people like Kathleen Kennedy, and who are just trying to like see which way the wind is blowing to try to like move their audiences and kind of like appeal to demographics. They don't care. But the creators and the artists are writing stuff like this. And what are the politics of today for young people that are inspiring to them? It's not
identity politics.
Identity politics.
LGBTQ rights.
Diversity, equality.
Michelle Paradise has talked about how Gray's arc is in some ways a metaphor for the trans experience.
Inclusion, women's rights, more roles for women. That's all the stuff that came out of the 90s. Anti-authoritarian.
One of the really direct ways that I thought this season absolutely holds up a mirror to one of the greatest problems and I think tremendous moral failings of America is the way that we treat immigrants.
Anti-police.
And specifically the way ICE, which I believe is a Gestapo-like organization.
Yeah.
But the hatred here, it never ends. Just swaps clothes. This century, took off a hood and put on a suit.
Anti-capitalism, and these are all leftist politics. There are politics on the right, of course, but those aren't the people that are in Hollywood. Okay? It's just fact.
Yeah.
And anti-colonizers, anti-colonialism, right?
Monuments tied to slavery and colonialism are being torn down and defaced by anti-racism protesters.
Any statue, no matter who it's of, was a colonizer, so tear it down. Even the bronze fonts.
Definitely tear down the bronze fonts. Tear that down right now.
Fonz represented the 1950s. Which was a time of high racism. And the Fonz was on a show called Happy Days that had no diversity.
It glorified those old racist days. It was called Happy Days, and the Happy Days were the 50s.
Yeah. It should be retitled Problematic Days.
Problematic, yeah.
It wasn't Happy Days for a lot of people, especially those who couldn't use the same drinking fountain as you, Rich, and sit at the same counter as you. So the Fonz statue is a literal representation of segregation and racism. Tear it down. See, that's the politics of today, and those are the kinds of people writing shows like this. And yes, they could love Star Wars, but it's hard to do sci-fi and talk about like reflecting, your today's views and not include it somehow. And this show is not the worst offender in that.
Holy Stacey Abrams is the president of Earth. Are you kidding me? I cannot even believe this. Stacey Abrams is a boss.
You know, we set a meeting with her. We just got on a Zoom with Stacey Abrams, and
wow. Stacey Abrams, tell me about directing Stacey Abrams.
Because Stacey Abrams is standing right there. But it was the moment she steps on set, you're like, there's Stacey Abrams.
When Stacey Abrams comes onto the set.
Stacey Abrams was a fan of the show specifically, and a fan of Sonequa's in it.
But it wasn't Stacey freaking Abrams.
Stacey Abrams. And I've never seen so many exclamation points.
Yeah, like I freaked out.
Yeah. Could you take 5 minutes from Saving Democracy to come work on our show, please? That would be terrific.
Oh my gosh, we've got Stacey Abrams to play this character, and then
and we tried so hard to play it cool because we wanted her to feel, comfortable and everything. And so we were all just like holding ourselves so tightly.
That's a lot.
If you want to pull the thread, change everything. And pull it.
To me, I watched it, and all I really got out of it was it has a diverse cast. I don't care. I don't give a fuck. I don't. And it starts to open this door of questioning the Jedi.
Yeah.
And their authority as like a religious, almost a religious cult that basically has a monopoly on the Force. And, the prequels sort of brought this about, like they kind of portrayed the Jedi as sort of out of touch. And this sort of like brings it, at least it started to, brings it a little more, solidifies that kind of concept.
So what can you tease about who's sort of pulling the strings, who is villainously behind the curtain in The Acolyte?
Well, it's the inner saboteur.
I like that.
It's the bad guy inside all of us.
That is
just
very
waiting
true.
to get out.
So we're still talking about the creators, the baby boomer generation. We are leaving out Gene Roddenberry. Gene Roddenberry is not a boomer. He is
he
of
would
the
be the greatest generation.
Yes,
yeah.
he actually flew a fighter jet in World War II.
He's also a policeman.
Maybe that's why he going to war and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's why he was like pushed towards a utopian future instead of a dystopian future.
Because he said, "Fuck this shit."
Yeah. And Star Trek obviously is the OG diverse cast. Not even just the main characters, like side characters all over the place. He's just like, I envision a future where people don't see race anymore, where everyone just humanity doesn't even fight within itself. You don't have inner conflicts on the starship. Everyone just kind of works together and goes out and explores the galaxy, and they solve problems. And we have a black woman, we have a Japanese man, and most controversial of all, they had a Russian.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think about Star Trek, and it struggled in the ratings. They're like the fans would write letters, like, don't cancel it, don't cancel. Oh, fine. And I think about like what the internet trolls would have been back then. and I was like, you know what I mean?
Why is there a Resky on that show?
Exactly. Angry Carl down at the corner tavern, like sitting, you see that show? The black lady on it, space.
To be fair, they did get some of that. Weren't there?
Oh, I'm sure there were.
There were affiliates that didn't carry the episode where Uhura and Kirk were forced to kiss.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sure, there was backlash, and so like that kind of the stuff exists today. But if it were like more, I don't know. I don't find the politics in this super intense.
No.
Other than it has a diverse cast. If it was, the Jedi are awful and, religious zealots and like they were just nothing but white guys. Mm-hmm. Maybe, but it's like a contradiction. You have this diverse cast.
It's just a diverse cast,
and they're starting to be portrayed as kind of maybe villainous. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
I have number 2 is prequel era. I'm going to say this real quick because I've been through this topic.
Okay.
Lucas wanted to tell a story about how the weakness of a tired political system can allow tyranny to creep in. People just wanted fun and adventure. That's the prequels in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So then Lucas sells Star Wars for $5 billion. Then we have the Disney era. Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, screenwriter Lawrence Kasdan, The Force Awakens. Who's our cast? White lady.
Black
guy and Hispanic
man,
Guatemalan
robot,
male, and gay,
trash can
robot, gay robot. It's been revealed R2-D2 is a lesbian and C-3PO is a homosexual.
Wait. R2-D2 is a lesbian?
Let me tell you this. This is where this like bomb went off with this fucking show, Rich.
Okay.
The creator Leslie Headland and the lead actress Amandla Stenberg were being interviewed in one of the many press junkets, and there's this presumably gay reporter, and he's like, well, if this isn't the gayest Star Wars ever, I'll be.
I want to ask you both because this is, I would say, arguably the gayest Star Wars, I think, by a considerable margin. And are you excited about that? Are you bracing yourself?
Star Wars. Not the
And they started laughing, you know, and she's like, I guess it's the gayest Star Wars, because she's the show creator's lesbian.
Yeah.
Leslie, how do you feel?
Am I gay? Yes.
Well, no, I know you are gay, but I'm asking, are you excited about putting this, this is going to be a talking point?
She's actually married to the lady with the bald green head.
Okay. She looks familiar. What have I seen her in without the green makeup, obviously?
I think she's been in I think she was on... well, you don't know. The Russian Doll show,
Okay.
Which the creator of this worked on Russian Doll, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know which other cast members are gay. I don't care. I don't care about anyone's sexuality. I just don't care. It's about the show. But this guy brought it up, and they laughed, and they didn't really talk about that, but they're like, well obviously C-3PO is gay. I mean, everyone knows that, and they're all laughing.
And are you telling me, with a straight face, that C-3PO is straight?
They're a couple. That's what I think.
And then Leslie Headland said, and clearly R2-D2 is a lesbian. And they laughed, and I laughed too.
This is more outward.
I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
Here's where you tell me it wasn't a joke.
No, it was a joke. But a bunch of conservative outlets, media outlets, all picked it up. And then it turned into a bomb. I laughed along.
Okay, I get it now.
I laughed along because the idea of R2-D2 being a lesbian is hilarious.
Yeah, I think it's canon that R2-D2 is a lesbian.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
This is how they're raising our kids.
Actually ensuring, apparently R2-D2, the little robot, that scoots about and gets on the starships and all the rest of it, apparently that could be a lesbian now. I mean, the whole thing is complete and utter absurdity. I don't know why this identity politics has to run rampant through things that we all adore and hold dear.
Everything that isn't gay yet will be gay in about 5 minutes, and the creator is gay, the interviewer doesn't seem like the straightest fella in the world, and so it's all gay.
By the way, both of the women in this particular clip are lesbians, the lead actress as well as the showrunner and creator of The Acolyte.
And everyone has always called them the gay robots, going back to The Simpsons.
It's the mighty robots of Battlestar Galactica versus the gay robots of Star Wars.
The gay robots from Star Wars. I mean, that was like in the early 90s.
Stop! Please save me, R2! Oh, you stupid little tramp! You're so boring! I hate you!
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Daniels, I believe, is a gay man, and he's prissy. That was his. But to me, as a kid,
C-3PO, sure, but I never got the impression that R2 was all
no,
that.
That's the joke. It's a total brick wall contradiction.
Yeah.
This is a beep boop bop up robot. There's nothing lesbianic about him. That's why I laugh.
Yeah.
And that's why they were laughing. And then it's like, but considering the subject matter, it's like Star Wars. It's for children. You shouldn't be talking about gay, and that's like.
This is how they're raising our kids.
This isn't for children. The Young Jedi's cartoon show is. This has people killing each other. Is this for children? I don't know. What is Star Wars?
I mean, when I was a children, I liked watching people kill each other.
I know, but you had a fucked up childhood.
I was very fond of The Road Warrior, which is the least child-friendly movie that has ever been made.
Yeah, I know. Yes, you're a different.
Yeah, I'm a different breed.
Now children are more protected.
Yeah.
They didn't have a nana who let them watch literally anything, starting at the age of 3. That's why you're wearing a Warriors vest and sitting in a sweaty warehouse talking about a TV show. So you have The Force Awakens, and when that came out in 2015, I don't remember. There was stuff about Rey being a Mary Sue because she could do anything and all this stuff. But in terms of like, I think that might have been starting around then. But,
that was definitely starting around then.
and it was like, okay, they took Star Wars, they kind of like basically made the same movie, just bigger and with better special effects and blah blah blah. And then I think like the turn came, right? And this is where I kind of step back and kind of go, because I think it was on one of the behind-the-scenes documentary things, Kathleen Kennedy's talking about how she hired Rian Johnson to direct the second one. And they had no idea where they're going to take the story. They just made the first one. They hired the same screenwriter, Lawrence Kasdan, Indiana Jones. And
fantastic forethought there. But
well,
yeah.
They hired him and they said, you wrote Empire Strikes Back, you wrote fucking Indiana Jones. Give us something that's very similar but not too different. We want to play it safe.
Yeah.
We don't want to come out of the gate with a bomb after we just paid $4 billion. And he's like, okay, I'll write the same fucking story. I'll just change a bunch of names. All right, here's some money. Here's a bag of money. Here's write the same fucking movie. And then, what do we do next? I don't know. Well, that was a big hit, wasn't it? Yeah, and then Kathleen Kennedy said, we were looking at directors and interviewing them. And Rian Johnson, we took him into a room and closed the door. 5 minutes later, we opened the door, and I said, he's our guy. And you know why?
Sexual favors.
No. He said, listen, lady, the world is changing. The wokes are coming. White dudes who liked Star Wars in the 80s, they're in their 40s now. They're raising kids. The kids, the younger generation, are where it's at. We cannot have Daisy Ridley find Luke Skywalker and Luke Skywalker push her aside. Get out of the way, you. I'm going to save the day, right? We can't have Poe Dameron be the space hero, the hotshot Han Solo. We gotta what is it? Subvert expectations. We have to twist this all up and change it up and go crazy. We have to have a pink-haired lesbian tell Poe Dameron he's a moron, and that was like the start of that kind of stuff.
I've dealt with plenty of trigger-happy flyboys like you. You're impulsive, dangerous, and the last thing we need right now. So stick to your post and follow my orders.
And that movie, like, it had potential. I know you were really fond of the Luke Skywalker as like a hermit.
I mean, it was my idea that they stole, yes.
Right. Cut to.
As far as young people having heard of these things, I'm going to make a further prediction. I think Luke is maybe flat out kind of trying to hide this stuff. I think there's a deliberate attempt to make the Jedi pass into myth. My prediction is that Luke will have deemed the Jedi and the Sith just too damn dangerous, more trouble than they're worth. And I think he hasn't tried to resurrect the Jedi Order. I think he's tried to suppress it. He knows he's the last Jedi, he's gonna go into hiding, and I think he's perfectly willing to let the whole Force thing fall into myth.
I don't even know where that movie went wrong. I'd have to go back and look at it. I guess they ran out of things for, they said we need an Asian girl. We didn't check all the boxes. So they brought in Rose, and then her and Finn went off on an adventure, and they were supposed to be in love, but I think one of them was going to be a gay, and then it was always this like, who's the first gay character? And and all I'm saying is there's nothing wrong with all that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
But that's the new politics.
I hope you understand what you're doing.
And you can incorporate that into your storylines subtly, smartly, and with a good movie without being overbearing.
And here's where I'm
or
just gonna...
thumbing your nose at the audience, which is the problem here.
Because nerds are gay.
Well, some nerds are very not gay and are very threatened by gay
Well, that's
stuff.
true. But
Yeah.
in my world, nerds are gay.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Star Wars The Acolyte not only has lesbian space witches, now it has a lovely, stunning, and brave pronoun scene.
What's that? That's puzzle. Is he or they with us?
Imposters have taken over Star Wars and many other beloved franchises. It's not just about one bad episode. It's about a broader trend that's ruining these iconic stories.
She's a powerful leader. Yes, yes.
Here's where I'm just going to interject too, that the diversity is not where those movies went wrong. Well, where those movies went wrong is when you said they made the first one, they had no idea what they were going to do.
Oh yeah.
The not planning the story ahead of time is where those movies went wrong. Not in the casting.
Sure, but in terms of like your Star Wars feast that's been laid out for you on Disney Plus, right? That kind of goes into another one of my
You dropped your notes, but
The Acolyte is a queer Marxist vandalization of the myth of Star Wars. In The Acolyte, the Force is a metaphor for cultural hegemonic power. The Jedi are a metaphor for cisgender white oppressors who hoard the power for themselves. Yes, it really is that obnoxious and stupid.
So we're still in the Disney era because Disney started with the feature films, and I think their plan was like movie, a legacy or whatever you call it.
Proper episode. Just Star Wars story. Proper episode.
Exactly.
Star Wars story.
Alternating, and it almost went perfectly year for year, and then boom, The Force Awakens,
Rogue One,
and Rogue One falls into the StarArs porn.
Yeah.
Rogue One, and then same with Solo, a Star Wars story. I consider that Star Wars porn too.
Yeah.
And then, so Rogue One, Last Jedi, Rise of the Skywalker, that was 2019, I think. And then I think the Solo bomb, the less than great reception of Solo, and then the less than great reception of the Skywalker movie. The Emperor came back.
Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, this is just like, whoa, this is bad. And then they kind of canned all the future movies, the Yoda movie.
They've just been making a prestige format TV show every now and then.
Since
then.
Yes, and and that's the new, the television era is number 5 in terms of what the Star Wars fans want. Because I seen this little GIF, or it was like a video. It was like a little embedded video on the Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And it said what Star Wars fans wanted. And then it played a clip of what I believe was from a video game. I don't know, but it goes and it shows 2 like Sith masters. I think one might have been Darth Maul and some other random Sith guy. And they get off this like spaceship on a docking bay, and they eject red lightsabers, and then it goes and then 3 Jedis with glowing lightsabers on. We got to stop them. The Sith are here, and they started fighting. Right, and that's what we got, what Star Wars fan wanted. Mm-hmm. And then it goes, what we got, and it immediately cuts to the space witches, the lesbian space witches going, whoa, the power of one, and so that's what Group A wanted, right?
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if Group B wanted this lesbian space witches or not either, but
I don't know what Group B wants.
It was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman-centered figure.
The Force be with us today because I got to see The Acolyte early, at least the first 4 episodes, and I have to say, and it ended up being really damn good.
The people that, the Group A have The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett.
Andor,
to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Although I consider Andor to be too smart to be Star Wars
Okay, so
porn.
not fan servicey enough?
No, Andor is like a fucking anomaly because it's so good. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka are, I haven't seen Ahsoka. I watched Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's like Star Wars porn, basically. Ahsoka, I have no idea. I think that's like Clone Wars era.
I have to imagine.
Ahsoka's fighting with a lightsaber. Some Jedis, and
presumably.
I'm gonna. If there's a lightsaber in it, it's Star Wars porn.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. So it's like, well, what do you want from Star Wars? What are we doing? What do you want?
You asked me what I want?
No, I mean, it's a hypothetical.
There's too many people that want too many different things. Because, we might hate the Star Wars porn, but probably a lot of people out there that still like the Star Wars porn. And then a certain amount of the fan base is going to complain, hey, you give me Star Wars porn. And then a different section of the fan base is going to say, yay, that's Star Wars porn. And then they're going to do something, a different show that's weird and entirely different. And we're going to see Andor and we're going to say, oh, hey, yeah, they're exploring new facets of the Star Wars universe. This is great. And then a whole different section of fans are going to go, hey, I want lightsabers and people running around and doing stupid shit. This sucks. There's too many people. I don't think there is any unified Star Wars fandom that wants one thing at this point.
Yeah, well, that's the point I'm trying to make is that you have a whole assortment of things. I think they get mad if, like, the canon is ruined, or there's a whole thing about Coyote Mundi. I don't know if you've seen that.
Is that the cone-headed guy? Yes. Is that supposed to be the same cone-headed guy in this?
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was supposed to be the same cone-headed guy or a different cone-headed guy.
It's been confirmed so here's the drama. Ready?
Yeah.
It's been confirmed in the credits that it is Coyote Mundi. He's probably can live for hundreds of years. He's much older in the Phantom Menace, and then he gets killed.
He's like a Spock.
He gets killed in Revenge of the Sith during the Order 66. And so they're like, Coyote Mundi's like, the Sith have been extinct for millennia, in the Phantom Menace. When Qui-Gon's like, I think it was a Sith Lord that attacked me in the desert. And, they've been extinct. Well, no, they haven't. They're talking about it in this room.
They're not talking about a Sith Lord. They're talking about kind of non-authorized Force user.
And it might turn out to be not a Sith. I don't know. But then there's controversy over his birth year. And Wikipedia, the Star Wars internet database, changed his birth year in the canon to reflect
the
show. And then people are like, well, his birth year was established in the books, not the Phantom Menace, and the books are not technically canon. And I was like, oh. I mean, there's people starving around the world.
Site error. God damn, they were quick to get on that one, eh? Look at that, boys.
Someone get in there! We have to update it to Leslie Headland's shit lore that she just created and manipulated.
But then you scroll down to the shit that they updated. Biography was born prior to 132 BBY. Huh? I don't understand. How was he born before 132 BBY? But here they say 93 BBY. Because they just manipulated the system because of a shitty show where the showrunner has no idea what Star Wars is.
And this is what, and then, the counter argument to that, well, it's like, well, you don't love this franchise as much as we do. Don't laugh at us. You'd be mad about Star Trek if they fucked with Captain Kirk, and we were,
Yeah. I don't think Cootie El Mundi is quite up on the same pedestal that Captain Kirk is, but yes.
Well, I was happy to see Coyote Mundi because I was just like, oh, that's that guy. Because you know what it did? It wasn't like, here's the scene. It's like they're all talking, and we have a special Jedi who's coming in today to discuss this situation with us. Who is it? Camera pans up, music swells, the door opens. Jedi Master Coyote Mundi. That's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where you're supposed to get, I got chills on my spine. It chills. It's Coyote Mundi. I cried. I cried butterfly tears. No, he was just there, and he was just talking in the background, and I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of connects. It connects the prequels and this. So just very subtly, no one made a big deal about it. I was like, okay, I'm all right with that. Then there's the idea of like the review bombing and all that kind of stuff. So I went through comments on the Acolyte all over the internet, and I condensed many things into two paragraphs of the two opposing sides of this war.
Uh-huh.
George Lucas's vision has been trashed. Lesbian space witches? Fat Jedis? Non-binary wokes? What is all this LGBTQ crap Disney keeps pushing on us? They've crammed this show with every kind of character but a white guy. And if there is a white guy, I bet he's going to be stupid or die or be saved or re-educated by a they-them fat trans. Star Wars is officially dead. Other side. Basement-dwelling white incel MAGA heads who are review bombing The Acolyte because it has a pansexual proud black female and Asian lesbians, non-binaries, and trans folk, and no toxic, misogynistic white male lead need to kill themselves because this is our time. This is our Star Wars. Star Wars is not for bigots. So these are collections of comments, all kind of pasted together. In a
a summary of the attitudes.
A summary, yes. Thank you for clarifying what I just did there. A summary of the attitudes from things I found, and it's like,
it's nauseating.
What are we doing?
I find it nauseating. I can't stand it.
Yeah,
I just want to enjoy something that is entertaining. It's at the end of the day, that's all I want.
So my question to you is, this also kind of crept into Star Trek.
Yeah.
We start out seeing a potential fascist future that feels horrifyingly plausible and like terrifyingly close to where we are right now.
Yeah. And when I look back at Star Trek,
which is the weirdest one because Star Trek has always been a left-leaning program.
Yeah, I think of the politics of like Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I think about it as like an ethical show.
Yeah.
Like I always kind of like think back, even into Voyager. I always kind of think back like ethically, like what are these characters doing during this situation, and that's kind of like, I don't know. That's how I base my own personal ethics, and I think the modern Star Trek, starting with like the first couple seasons of Picard.
What the hell is wrong with you guys? Slap on a badge, put on a uniform, you think you can treat people this way?
Michelle Paradise has talked about how Gray's arc is in some ways a metaphor for the trans experience. I'm a cishet white guy, so I'm just presuming, but I feel like you are providing representation for a lot of people who have never been represented at all.
And oh boy, is that ever reflected in a lot of the interviews and stuff that I've seen, where they're talking about a lot of these new politic issues that I've mentioned. You know, it's not just diversity. It's sort of like they had the whole. Remember when they went to the past and they had the ICE plot.
Yeah. One of the really direct ways that I thought this season absolutely holds up a mirror to one of the greatest problems and I think tremendous moral failings of America is the way that we treat immigrants. And specifically the way ICE, which I believe is a Gestapo-like organization.
Yeah. I think that's the overreaction or the reaction of a lot of the people that get upset about The Acolyte and shows with the diversities. They feel as if the show creators are like thumbing their nose at them.
Yes. In a very woman-centered world, which I was very excited to kind of be in that, because I feel like Star Wars is very like patriarchal, so it was kind of cool to have like this sort of woman-centered figure. I love to see it.
Both sides of this argument need to like take the high road and just kind of do, because there was a whole thing with Star Wars and that Rose character.
Yeah.
Like she was like,
I know she was like harassed or hounded or something, I think.
And it's like, why? Why did you do that? Like, I get it. There are legit racists out there.
Yeah.
That are mad, potentially mad that there's an Asian lady in Star Wars. To me, the whole notion's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like, the fact that it's interfering with the quality of the story and the dialogue around the show. That this kind of like the identity politics is kind of clouding everything.
I don't think that the identity politics has interfered with the quality of the story. I think it's just been focused on as opposed to the quality of the story.
Right.
Like, would you say Evil has a diverse cast?
Yes.
Evil is fucking amazing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Diverse cast.
Oh sure. Yeah. Oh no. Like, and shows without diverse casts are amazing.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Like there was not a lot of diversity in Squid Game. And I fucking loved it. I would see any whites. Because that's the guy who plays Master Soul is in Squid Game. Did you ever watch that? Probably not.
I gotta watch Squid Game.
It's so good. It's so good. And so the point is like this show, if it's good or bad, that doesn't matter. It's to a lot of people.
Can't believe I'm going to talk about this, but you know what? We're going to make it a teachable moment. No, Star Wars Acolyte has not been canceled. This was a show that recently announced the casting of Abigail Thorne.
Yeah, but the only complaints I've heard are women, minorities, and fire in space. Does this show have any real problems? Oh yeah, so obviously, like, clearly the memo went out that, hey everyone, let's make it clear that the only bad people are saying about the show are like women, minorities, and space pirates. That's so nonsense.
The Acolytes and Ann Stenberg released a song about Star Wars fandom backlash. Oh, I love this song. Bunch of witches. Journalist and calls out the human being without men. They make lesbian and intolerable racism. And the implications of this for the Star Wars story are actually even deeper than just turning everything on.
One of the most cringe things we've ever witnessed. We did an entire reaction to it in a video a couple days ago. But as much as the media has as much as she wants to just label all Star Wars fans racist, and then ask for a response, like she wants a response. She wants people paying attention to her. She doesn't want you to actually react to this video for some reason. Star Wars The Acolyte actress Amanda Stenberg begins copyright-claiming YouTubers react.
All they look at is, does it kind of fit their political end?
Which boxes does this check?
Well, sure, and
if it doesn't check my boxes, it is horrible.
And that goes the way with like, it's like, okay, so you have to, if you're on the left, you have to champion something that takes a chance and has a diverse cast. Even if it comes out that, even if it turns out that the show is crap and terribly written and embarrassingly bad, you have to say, well, it was good, you know. And conversely, if the show's fucking amazing and you're mad that it has a diverse cast, you say the show's terrible. That's the other side.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like.
I think basically, if you're a show or film and you are made by a woman, bonus points if she is gay and not white, and you have a bunch of gay, not white people in the show or the movie, it's almost guaranteed you're going to have a good review. Like, it is very rare, from what I remember, that a show that has diversity, especially, put up at front in marketing and promotion, for that to be poorly reviewed by critics.
And then on the subject of the Rotten Tomatoes, you have like a conservative Christian movie come out and gets the splat from the reviewers, 4%, and then 99% audience, right? It's like the complete polar opposite. Maybe it's a shitty movie, but you see a bunch of those come out. Anytime one of those like Christian religious movies comes out in the movie theaters, always gets a terrible review. But
they're not judging the movie on the movie's quality. They're judging the movie based on their own personal politics.
Yes, and I'm saying that's starting to happen, or has been happening.
Starting.
Yeah, I corrected myself. Has been happening a lot in the world of Star Trek, Star Wars, etc. I think it's probably affecting the quality. To a certain degree, because people are overthinking things. Like, for example,
here's a little tidbit.
Remember Star Trek Picard? I think it was the Borg one, season 2.
Okay, yeah.
There's a part, Alison Pill, the blonde-haired gal, who killed,
who murdered
Bruce Maddox.
Yeah.
There's a part where she does a song at the gala ball for the space astronaut Do you remember the girl's going to fly?
Picard's ancestor. Yeah.
She's going to fly to Titan and find water or something. I don't remember what was happening. But she does a song, and they were going to sing a song by a black singer.
The song in the show, which is was formerly in the script, as you may remember, Brent, Nina Simone's "Feeling Good."
The Alison Pill, the actress, told Jonathan Frakes, she's like, we can't sing that song because it's a famous like black singer, and I'm a white lady, and the song has ties to like the civil rights movement.
Okay.
And the wisdom of Alison Pill and the self-awareness and the political awareness that it wasn't so cool for a beautiful young white actress to be singing this, was sort of tone deaf for someone. With sort of a civil rights anthem that Nina Simone embraced, and
don't you support civil rights?
Well, it's appropriation in a way. So they switched it to Pat Benatar, "Shadows of the Night."
As soon as that flag went up, we changed the song, which is even it reveals more about Allison.
Yeah.
And then Jonathan Frakes is like, oh. Thank God Allison came up to me and said, I can't sing that song. I'm a white lady. And this is on that Ready Room show. And I was like, who is going to complain about that? Like someone on Twitter? Like what the fuck? And to this, now we're going to segue into the Acolyte. Stay tuned, everybody. We're going to talk about the show now.
Now the 45-minute preamble is over.
What are you? So, to the Acolyte. From the impression I got off the Twitter that there were going to be no white guys in this, and I saw a couple. And I thought, oh, why am I thinking about this even?
I wasn't really thinking about it. I noticed there was a lot of diversity, but I wasn't like counting the white people. How many? Let me take the tally.
It's so unfortunate that our brains go there. The fucking internet. So what'd you think of the show so far? We watched 4 episodes. What'd you think of the show?
It's a show.
It's a show. Is it worth all the outrage and anger and
No,
people
it's not
yelling?
worth all the outrage and anger. It's kind of harmless. I like the first episode well enough. We're introduced to the Acolyte herself, and she fights that Jedi. I thought that was a neat fight scene. I thought she was a neat character in that she wasn't depicted as being entirely, purely villainous. She's got her own motivations for what she's doing, and there's some hints that maybe the Jedi have done some shady stuff. That's interesting enough. Then we're introduced to Osha, who, ironically enough, was working in very unsafe conditions on the outside of the spaceship.
I always thought that the entire time. For those who don't understand, it's the Occupational Safety Hazards Association.
She's likable enough. She's got that neat little scene on the prison ship, and they establish this neat little murder mystery twin thing. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fun. How's she gonna clear her name? It's gonna be a fun premise of the show. What is our character? And then the Jedis just step in and solve the problem immediately, and there's no longer any question about who the real murderer is. I'm like, oh, that's disappointing.
But now it opens it up to a bigger mystery.
The problem I have with this show, for the most part, is the Jedi are so fucking boring, and 4/5 of the cast is Jedi, and they all have the same personality, which is stale crackers and fine grit sandpaper.
I know you don't like the Jedi.
Yeah,
that's why
bland and mildly irritating.
I wanted to torture you.
Yeah, they all feel like the same personality, and they all suck. And you know what doesn't help this show at all? The timing, and you asked me to do this now, was really terrible. because I have recently been rewatching like Farscape, and oh my god, every character on fucking Farscape just oozes personality. And then I gotta watch The Acolyte, and there's fucking Sol and Jorg. Is that his name? Jorg or York? Jord, and they're just like cardboard cutouts of people, and I fucking hate them all.
Yeah, the Jedi aren't allowed to have, crazy
it's
ranges of
attachments
emotions
and personalities.
Yeah, I
and
know.
There's not you're not allowed to be interesting in any way whatsoever.
That's why the Jedi
and-
worked as the kindly old wizard man who guided Luke on an adventure, and that's it. And then died.
There's hints of an interesting mystery in here on what really happened, because we know that May isn't the one who really caused the death of the family. And something else happened, and the Jedi are involved, and maybe they're going to go somewhere really interesting and gray with it. But most of the personalities on that show are just completely uninteresting and boring. I hate most of the characters.
Okay, yeah, like when it started, when it opened, it just kind of felt like a fan film. Like,
yeah, but a well done one. Yeah, it was a good fight.
Yeah, she comes, shades of Matrix in there.
Throwing the knife at the civilian in order to distract the Jedi was that was clever.
Sure.
That was clever. I appreciated that.
Yeah, but yeah, she just kind of walks into that dirty bar and is like, fight me, and then it just kind of it rubbed me the wrong way, the very opening. Like, it just kind of felt dumb. Like, just to open your show with just like a fight scene.
Yeah.
And just the whole notion of the revenge, I've got to kill the 4 Jedis that showed up. Even the little boy, he didn't even do anything.
Oh, it's not War and Peace.
Oh, yeah, sure. But logically, you could kind of like nitpick it apart.
They were split up at the age of like, it was like 8 or 9. And they haven't seen each other for 16 years, yet they have identical haircuts.
Really? What are the odds of the haircut thing?
Why did she choose to assassinate her in a crowded place? Like, why didn't she wait until she was alone? Blah, 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 blah. And then there's one eyewitness, and it's just like that alien. And so then his description is just like, oh, it's like a black girl with dreads. It kind of looks like that one girl that was a Jedi at our temple 16 years ago. Let's go find her. It kind of looks like her. That's the only black girl in the whole galaxy.
I'll give them credit. They knew that the person who killed the Jedi probably had
force powers. But still, it's like, how about like a little dash of blood? Like, because they're twins, they would have the same like DNA. And, oh, it's because they wrote off May as being dead.
Yeah.
Oh, the blood sample reads as OSHA.
That could have worked.
We know, it's a little more like the technology is there. And the Jedi, like, read in your minds. Because they go and find OSHA on the Nemoidian ship, and they're like, oh, you're under arrest. You're under arrest for murder. I didn't do anything. Okay. Oh, you didn't? Okay. But, like, you can do, like, a nitpick kind of thing.
Yeah.
That whole scene construction and the setup was just sort of, like, clunky until, like, they dismissed, oh, May's alive. Okay. And she's assassinating the 4 Jedis that showed up that fateful day. Okay, now we move on to something else. So at least that wasn't the whole season, that like this murder mystery with like lapses in logic and common sense. I was like, oh yeah, great. So then the second episode.
That was the one with Keanu.
What?
I'm sorry, Jason Mendoza.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. That's the guy from The Good Place.
Yeah.
You know who that is?
Yeah, I love The Good Place.
Oh. Okay, so you know who that guy is.
Yeah.
And so she decides, she goes to get that Tobin guy, and he's like in a force field, and I don't know. Why did he kill himself?
Guilt.
Guilt?
Guilt over whatever happened mysteriously 16 years ago.
Yeah, and then so what did happen 16 years ago?
We don't know the full details yet, just that the lesbian witch's temple got burned down real good.
They do the ceremony, the famous that to me, like, everyone was mad about the lesbian space witch episode, but that was my favorite one. Because, like you said,
Star Wars has the worst parents in the world. Can I say this? You can't let your 8-year-old decide for herself that she wants to go off with the creepy monks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, she said she wants to do that. She also probably wants to be a pirate on the sea. She's 8 years old. She can't make those kind of decisions for herself yet.
Well, they're forcing her to be a witch in the coven. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Worst parents in the world, sure. But so they do. Well, first of all, they're forced children.
They were conceived in the same manner that Anakin was.
And to me, it's like, after kind of all this, like, they were talking about the thread. They're like, ooh, it's like yes, okay, the Force is a thing, and these witches use it in a different way, and they're like ostracized, and they're hiding, and they're like, because the Jedi have said no one in the universe can use the Force but us.
They want a monopoly on Force use.
Yeah, or I guess they're just trying to like make sure that nobody does anything super bad with it and becomes like a villainous monster.
Who gives them the right to decide
exactly
what is a good or bad use of the Force, Mike?
I don't know.
Who give them the right?
They give themselves the right.
Exactly, Mike. Exactly.
The Jedi are kind of the ones dictating how the Force is utilized, and so I think it's so fascinating for there to be this introduction of this character who utilizes it in a different way and comes from a different community, almost a different spiritual community, and
it's new politics, Rich.
It is the new politics, but it's why I'm fully on board with that. They're assholes. I'm sorry, they're just assholes.
It's good and evil are subjective. And are the witches evil?
From my point of view, it is you who are evil.
Right.
In a galaxy where sort of every choice is made by light or darkness, your character really encourages individualism, and I think it's really cool to see that.
That belief that, you're not just one thing, But I also think, Mother Anastasia represents a philosophy that is more about connection to life and less about connection to dogma.
And why would the witches be evil? I don't know.
Because they're using Force in an unsanctioned way that the Jedi's don't approve of.
Did they
not under their thumb.
Did they show them doing anything particularly evil?
They do not.
Yeah.
They do not.
So they do this ceremony.
The impression I get is very much that the Jedi just don't like anybody using the Force. Which seems to be pretty immoral, that they're deciding other people can't use this thing that binds all life together, Mike.
I think it's sort of like the U.S. government doesn't want you making your own medicine.
It's more like the Christians determining they're the only ones who get to determine what is the proper sexuality people can have, and you can't be gay over there.
Maybe,
I don't approve of that.
Maybe. Or you can't enrich uranium on your own. In your basement. That's against the law, probably, right?
The Jedis want all the guns. The Jedis want all the guns, and nobody else can have any. The witches, the lesbian witches, they're just like the militia out there.
I suppose. I just see maybe they, if you fuck around with the dark side of the Force, yes, you could become something really bad and become a danger.
Yes.
That's the kind of the point I'm making. So,
Well, Terry, authorities tell us that the most serious or perhaps the most dangerous kind of devil worship comes in the form of underground cults. Most of them are very secretive, usually organizing clandestine rituals in the dark of night.
That's interesting. It's the most interesting thing to come out of Star Wars in a little while. Is like the ethics involved in who can use the Force and who can't, and blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, yeah, what they just show up. It says they're like stationed on that planet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they do there on the others.
They're clearly there to harass the witches, Mike. I mean, that's clearly their motive for being there.
So they do the ceremony. The moons line up, and it's like the blood moon witch ceremony. They do the ceremony properly for May, the bad one, and then they're about to do the ceremony. And Osha, let the Jedi walk in and ruin the ceremony. And what are you doing? And blah 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 blah. And then the girls fight the one says they test them both, or one of them. I don't remember. And then she has like a lantern, and she breaks the lantern. That starts the fire. And you're right. Maybe the Jedi did.
They did something. There's a lot of dead witches lying around on the ground. They don't look burnt.
No, the fire spreads around, and I don't know what it's like burning. It's just everywhere all of a sudden. And then the girls are downstairs, and you hear like a huge gasp of all the witches, like ah, like they all just died suddenly somehow. And then they cut to them, and they're just laying there. And I'm like, well, oh, did some kind of like toxic gas explode and kill them? Like, how'd they die?
Yeah.
And I certainly hope that's resolved.
I think that's going to be like the end of the season.
Okay,
We're going to find out. That's going to be the major thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they committed mass murder.
And there's a reason that the Torben guy killed himself.
Okay.
It's got to be related to this.
I mean, really, there's not too much to talk about with the story because we're only 4 episodes in, and so we got Master Soul, the Carrie-Ann Moss, Torben, the Wookiee Jedi gets killed, and that's kind of like the cliffhanger, I guess, at the end is, this mysterious Sith Lord shows up, or dark character. I don't know what you want to call her.
She's either he or her or whatever that is, because they're wearing like Sith. All wear Sith wear just black skin. They can't see any skin, and the helmet. So it could be anyone under there. It could be a twist. Maybe it's like one of the witches.
That's what I'm thinking, and I don't really.
I don't think we saw spike-headed witch's corpse.
She seems to be. I don't remember whose corpse.
Is she a Darth Maul?
See, that's the thing is, I don't know if that was Darth Maul's race or if he just tattooed his face and stuck horns on his head to look scary.
I'm assuming the red and black are tattoos, but the horns are just his horns.
Yep.
My assumption.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, and that could be a clue. She seems to be the more hostile or aggressive one, and she birthed them. The other mother created them. I believe that's what they say.
Is the twist going to be that the spike-haired one is the secret Sith, and she was a secret Sith even back in the Witch's Coven, and maybe she was trying to influence the Witch's Coven to turn them into a dark side Witch's Coven? Maybe they're going to do something like that. I don't know.
Because when the character drops down at the end and, takes out the red lightsaber, just to me, the body type, the kind of the shoulders aren't very broad. It kind of looks like it could be a female.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't kill, is that Osha there? It doesn't kill Osha, it kind of pushes her away.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of I think it's the first episode when they reveal the Sith or evil character, and it's telling May what to do. For some reason, that Sith character doesn't want May to use a weapon when killing the Jedi.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that she was a secret Sith in the Witch's Coven, and that Osha and May were early attempt at an Anakin. Like exactly what Anakin was. Use the Force to make a Force baby that'll take down the Jedi because of prophecy nonsense.
So that Sith, I wrote down the quote, that Sith says this: "The Jedi live in a dream they believe everyone shares. If you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail. Steel or laser are no threat to them. An Acolyte kills without a weapon. An Acolyte kills the dream."
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're doing the prep for the ceremony, not the spiky-headed mother, the black mother, whatever her name is, she says these things: "Some call it a force and claim to use it, but we know the thread is not a power you wield. Pull the thread and change everything. It ties you to your destiny. It binds you to others." And then she's like demonstrating by doing like the push thing, and she pushes that one lady, and then 2 come up and she pushes them as well, and that's exactly what the thing does at the end, is it pushes all the Jedis. So I'm like, maybe one of the mothers survived. It's either the birth mother or the
head witch
conceiver. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who's out for using May as revenge, or that Sith character is just like a, you know, an avatar or a puppet or something of somebody worse. And I certainly hope they don't bring in Palpatine or Skywalkers or any of that kind of stuff. And if it's just a twist, and it seems to like come full circle, like May seems to be coming around, like she doesn't really want to kill all these Jedi anymore, and because the thing has already gone ahead and cut up Chewbacca or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Wookiee Jedi.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name.
They just went right ahead and killed him with a weapon. I was like, well, okay, well, we said not to do that. And then, so May seems to be kind of like wavering, and then, you know, but...
All she really wants is her sister.
It's what it's about. It's
all about family, Mike.
And, yes, and so it's probably gonna come full circle, and at the end, the thing's gonna take its mask off. It's one of the mothers, and the Witch's Coven was great to begin with. The Jedi influenced it, and blah blah blah, or something bad. This mother, one was bad with the horns, and blah 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 blah. Hanging off the edge of a cliff over a volcano. May has to die for killing Carrie-Ann Moss and Tobin. And
also, one of the twins has a tattoo to make her kind of unique. I'm sure that'll never come up again.
I want to be a good. I see the good ways of things, and I'm sorry. I fell into a volcano, and then Osha, Soul will die.
You've been found guilty of workplace safety violations.
Osha, have you been cleared to use this lightsaber? Did you?
Did you put the security safety tag on the lightsaber after doing the maintenance?
Right.
Required maintenance?
I didn't. But fuck it. Grab and then she fights Sith Mother. And then stabs Sith Mother through the heart. Sith Mother takes off her helmet. It's me, Osha. It was me all along. I was just trying to reunite you with your sister. And the coven was betrayed by... it'll be the horn-headed lady set off the gas explosion and killed everyone and hid in a closet to frame the Jedi, so that Osha would go, start this war that kills all the Jedi because she just secretly hates them because they've forced them into seclusion. Something like that.
Something.
And it happens. Then you have a story and everyone fights each other with lightsabers. What else you want?
Mike, there's not enough white men, so it's the worst thing ever.
Sure. The catch-22 is the Jedis can't get all gay because they can't be loved, right? So there can't be.
I mean, you can still be attracted to the other men, but not act on it.
I suppose.
You know, celibacy doesn't mean a lack of attraction.
That's true. Yes. Yeah, because I secretly think Qui-Gon wanted to bang Shmi Skywalker. He was all hot under the robes for her.
I don't know, Mike. I think the Jedi do like their younglings.
The boy then.
Too far. You know what I always thought about lightsabers, and I think I said this before in some sort of product that we released on the internet.
Yeah.
I've always wanted this to happen with lightsabers, and I always thought it was the case. Because any old Joe Schmo could get their hands on a lightsaber and swing it around and fucking destroy tons of people out of awesomeness.
Yeah.
And when Han Solo turned on Luke Skywalker's lightsaber on Hoth to cut open the belly of the Tauntaun, he was a little awkward with it.
Yeah.
The lightsaber is just like pure energy.
Yeah.
And in order for something to be so powerful and cut through anything, it has to have a counterbalance. It has to be extremely weird and heavy and awkward to use. Like a normal person turning on a lightsaber, it's so powerful. Let me finish. Shut up.
You can't. I'm letting you finish.
Let me finish. And you turn it on, it's like, and it's like, oh God, it's like trying to lift up Thor's hammer, right? And it's, oh, well, fuck. And unless you're a Jedi that's mastered the Force, which is things that you move with your mind, that's when you're able to wield it with perfect precision and accuracy and fight with it. And that's what makes you special. Or else any old asshole could pick up a lightsaber and slaughter anybody with it. And you wouldn't need I could pick up a lightsaber.
No, you
and just,
couldn't. No, you couldn't. You pick up a lightsaber and you go attack a troop of trained Navy SEALs. Tell me how that goes.
Like this.
They're gonna shoot your ass.
Okay, maybe the blocking.
That's the thing. If you can't block with the lightsaber, it's fucking useless.
No. Here's the thing, though. Laser blasts go at like you could physically see a laser blast go with your eyes. So, it's like, remember in Star Trek: The Next Generation when the guy fired a phaser at Picard and Riker in the episode with the space bugs?
Yeah.
And they go.
Okay.
And they jump onto the.
That's a shitty episode.
You fire a machine gun at a Jedi, they ain't hitting that. You'd have to move faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Well,
Rich.
that's when you use the Force to rip the gun out of their hands, Mike. They got you covered. They got all the bases covered. I'm sorry.
Like Lord Vader did with Han Solo.
Yeah.
Or you do a Neo, and you stop all the bullets in the air.
I hated that one. They did that in The Force Awakens.
They did?
Yeah. Kylo Ren did that.
Oh, he grabbed the laser bolt.
Yeah.
That was okay. That was cool. But anyways, I think that would make the Jedi more magical. That's my final thought on Star Wars.
I mean, I don't know why. You could just pick somebody up with your mind and just keep slamming them on the ground. I don't know why they bother with the swords in the first place, Mike.
It's an elegant weapon for a more civilized.
Just beat their head. Just use the Force to pick them up and slam their head against the rocks.
Because the Force
repeatedly.
The Force was never, at least in the original trilogy, it was never quite so outrageous.
I know.
Grabbing spaceships and pulling them down from the sky and stuff like that. It was just Obi-Wan would flip a switch with his mind or something, move a chess piece. I don't know. It was like Yoda had trouble lifting an X-wing. Mm-hmm. It took him a lot of work to do that.
And a person weighs a lot less than an X-wing, Mike.
Well, sure, but Yoda had trouble doing it.
Yoda could bash some people's brains in with the Force.
Maybe you could just squish their heads.
Oh yeah, yes. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Yeah.
It's just So, anyways, that's Star Wars. I don't think I had anything else to say about the Acolyte.
You just wanted to talk about the circus
surrounding
it's a circus.
The Acolyte. It's a bit of a circus, and I'm attempting to kind of stand back and watch the circus from a neutral perspective and kind of see both sides as they fight over this. It's like kids, and there's a toy, and they're saying, it's my toy. No, it's my toy. It's my toy. And they're fighting back and forth about it. And to me, it's kind of silly because you watch it, and if you turn it on and it annoys you or you don't like it, stop watching it. That's the beginning and end of it. We did that. We gave Star Trek Discovery a chance.
Yes.
And it started to really get on. I gave fucking The Strange New Worlds a chance, and it got on my nerves the first 2-3 episodes, so I stopped watching it. And we stopped watching. I didn't watch the last 2-3 seasons of Discovery. And you know what? When you start something and you watch 20 minutes of it and you stop it and you never go back to it, that algorithm knows that you've done that. And that algorithm takes note of how many other people have done that. And if you don't like the content, just pick a different content. If it's unsuccessful and nobody watches it, it goes away.
Yeah.
And then they try something else. And that's what I was trying to say with Kathleen Kennedy. And it's like, well, we gotta move out of the last generation to try to bring in this new generation that wants to see more diversity on screen. They want to see different stories. And she's just thinking like a businesswoman. Mm-hmm. That's all. And it's like, and there's a picture of her the Force is female, and everyone's that's just her going. Well, the demographic for Star Wars is mostly
What'll get
male.
likes on Twitter?
What'll get likes, or how? What demographic are we missing?
Can I ask you a question that's a little bit off the grid? The years ago, you were at a charity event wearing the Nike Force is female T-shirt, and a lot's been made if misinterpreted, but I just want to do you want to sort of talk about just set the record straight of what that T-shirt sort of meant? And
the Force is female. We are trying to grow in the workforce a number of women in executive positions and in all positions inside the company, and with the movies that we're making and with the protagonists that we're putting in the stories. I didn't know it was controversial.
Oh yeah, people were very upset about that you were wearing a Nike t-shirt.
It was something that Nike created. I didn't create that t-shirt. But we have 50% of our executive team are women. And I think the amazing thing about the Force is in all of us.
Yeah.
It's not that it's just female, it's not that it's just male, it's the Force. I'm sure there's a lot of people that would be surprised that we're making Star Wars movies and the majority of the people involved in the development of those stories are women. And whether or not somebody can claim it as their own, I think that that's ubiquitous.
Yeah.
It is going to happen. We are going to hire a woman who's going to direct a Star Wars movie. I have no doubt.
So yeah, that's that. It's a little clunky in parts. It's a little dry. I think it didn't. It could be tightened up like all these series.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a movie.
It's a poor format for everything. Everything doesn't have to be a prestige format, 8-hour-long TV series. When 2 hours you can tell your story better, more efficiently, more effectively,
And more excitingly.
Yes.
There's a lot of dull in this. I find myself looking at my phone every now and then of boredom, but I'm just unwilling to completely comment on it with finality because we haven't seen the entire thing. We don't know what the mystery is. And there is a developing mystery when you get to the end of episode 4, which is fine.
They may end this on a place where they have some interesting critiques on the Jedi's methods, and maybe it'll be really interesting. I don't know yet. My current verdict is go watch Farscape. I'm serious, Mike. I'm talking to you right now. Go watch Farscape.
Okay.
You would probably actually really like Farscape.
Okay, you've been hounding on me for years about Farscape. Maybe that is a review in our future.
Okay.
Yes, yes.